This is Anarchast.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Anarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet. We have coming in from Los Angeles, Carey Wedler. She's most well known as being Adam Kokesh's girlfriend, but she's also known for other things. She's writing a book that sounds very interesting. We're going to ask her about that, and she has her own YouTube channel, and I believe she's going to be doing some help with Adam and Adam versus the Man podcast in the future. We'll ask her all about that. We're definitely going to ask her about what's been going on with Adam Kokesh. He was a past guest on Anarchast, who's now been kidnapped and still in a DC cage. But before we ask all those questions, Carey, how did you become an anarchist?
How did I become an activist? It's funny because Anarchist. Okay, well, it's two things. The Anarchist, I think, actually came from studying history at a public university, which is really ironic. But it was after I became an activist and I got really into the Ron Paul thing and I saw the corruption of what happened during the primaries, and it just disgusted me. And I just started looking back at my education and looking at everything I'd studied, all the different cultures, all the different time periods, and there was this common thread, which is that the government causes a lot of violence and murder and death and suffering, and I couldn't really see it coming from anywhere else, and it just sort of clicked for me because it was the same throughout history and it was repeating itself now. So once it clicked, I was just like, duh, obviously. How did I miss it before? How wasn't I, like, I was a huge Obama supporter before I got into Ron Paul. So it was a big transition for me. But once it happened, I never looked back.
Yeah, once you start to understand these things that we understand about how the world would work without government, you really see the whole world completely differently. I've been watching, I'm sure you probably have watched Breaking Bad recently. And
I just got really into it.
Yeah, me too. I didn't even really know about it till this year, and I've watched the last 4 seasons in the last few weeks. But
that happens.
Yeah, but it's just amazing because if people don't know the show, it's about this chemistry teacher who becomes a huge meth involved in the world of cooking and dealing methamphetamines. And every episode, people are dying and all sorts of drama, and it's all caused by prohibition of these substances. And it's just so. But at least in the Breaking Bad, I think the writers or the producers are kind of libertarian or maybe even anarchist, because you can always see little hints they put in. There was even one episode where they said, "I'm a libertarian."
Gil.
Yeah, so I think they're trying to kind of show the bad sides of prohibition through this format, which is really interesting.
Well, have you watched season 5? Are you on season 5
now?
No,
don't ruin it for me. I'm on season 4, episode 11, which was awesome.
Okay, I won't say anything, but you know Hank. So Hank he represents the government really, and it's an interesting perspective because he's supposed to be family. But I won't say anything about season 5, but it gets extremely interesting. So
it's already getting interesting, yeah.
Yeah, it's been pretty. Season 4, it really got good, but
yeah. If you haven't seen it, any anarchists out there, you'll love it because it really shows all sorts of different views on how prohibition and how it really twists everything and changes everybody. And all of a sudden, everyone's got to be doing all these devious things and sneaking around, and everyone's watching everybody, and it's just terrible. But it's a great show. I really got to ask you. I'm sorry. I know you don't. You kind of mentioned, though, by the way, I am Adam Kokesh's girlfriend, and you might want to ask me something about that, but I am someone myself as well, and I know that. But this week has been just, I don't know what's going on. I'm sure you do. And I know that we're recording this right now on Saturday, the 28th of September. This probably won't be out for a week or maybe even more, and I know you're going to put out some more information this week. Maybe you can tell us what you are putting out or just in general, what's going on. I don't understand what's happening right now.
Sure. I mean, honestly, I don't even have all the details because this drama that has come up, it hasn't been my responsibility to try to sort through it. I'm helping Adam out with his podcast and trying to make sure that he still has a voice from jail. But I do know some of the details. It's been extremely confusing, extremely chaotic, and especially frustrating for Adam because he's in a cage and he can't deal with it directly. And that's a lot of why it's been so chaotic. I want to stress that so much of these problems have been caused because of the raid, because of the lack of communication, because of the way they've been denying him rights and his ability to communicate. But we are going to be coming out with a factual statement. There's been a lot of gossip, a lot of speculation, a lot of hearsay, a lot of Facebook arguments, and we're coming out with just facts. Adam's going to make a statement on Monday, and by the time this airs, he will have already made it. Everything will have already been done.
And we'll link to that on this video down below when we have that, just so people can check that out.
Absolutely. And we're also going to be posting a report of all of the things that are documented to have been stolen, everything that's been lost, you know, all the information that they've been working on gathering for a few weeks is going to be posted. I'm going to be making a statement based on my experiences because I was in Virginia for the raid. I was there. So I saw some things. Jeff's also going to be making a statement because he's been involved since the beginning. So we just want to get real facts out there and make sure that everything is cleared up so that we can move past it, because there's so much more to be doing. And it's just sort of a drain on the entire case and the entire trial to have to be focusing on these petty inner issues that people want to keep focusing on because it's drama and it's gossip, but there's so much more productive things we could be doing, and we're looking forward to being able to get to that point after we release all this information.
Yeah, I think it's really important that you pointed out that this is all caused by the government again. So just like in Breaking Bad is causing all these major dramas and problems, and was there actually some money stolen? That's sort of what I've heard.
It appears that way.
Okay.
I haven't seen the documents. I'm not familiar with it since I haven't been assigned to do that. Adam didn't want me to worry about it. I'm somewhat aware about it, but I don't want to say too much without having documents in front of me.
No, that's very good of you to do. I also don't like to comment on things that I haven't seen myself, and so that's fine. But I do want to ask, because I like Adam a lot. He's a great guy, and is he in need of more funds? And are you going to be coming out with ways to help him that will be a little bit better this time?
Yes, that's what we're working on right now. There's actually, it'll be over by the time this airs again, but there's a jury nullification campaign going on right now to raise awareness about that as an option to help his trial. But as far as I know, there's going to be more secure outlets set up so that we can do legal fundraising, because he still needs money. He doesn't even have commissary right now because of a mix-up.
What's commissary?
Commissary, so that he can buy things within jail, like so that he can make orders of, like, I don't know the details, the specifics. Like, I think he's given a toothbrush and toothpaste and the basics, but outside of that, he doesn't have anything. So the commissary is just so he can have extra food or extra, you know, to get by in jail. So
he must be getting pretty skinny.
Huh?
He must be getting pretty skinny if that's the case.
I thought so, but you know what he told me? He said that the inmates are giving him extra food. They help him out because he's doing really well in there. He's just like making friends everywhere. You know how Adam is. So he said he couldn't work out for a while, especially when he was in solitary, because, I mean, he was in solitary and he wasn't getting as much food in solitary. But now that he's in general population, he's getting some more calories. So he's been lifting and he's super excited about it. He missed it.
That's great. That could almost be a TV show in itself, how he's surviving there in jail by being friendly and spreading ideas.
Yeah, he's just peaceful and he just listens to people and he has a way of relating to people. And I think that's why he's such a threat to the government, and they know that.
Absolutely. And yeah, it's really sad. And I really hope this works out for the best. When is his trial?
The DC trial starts on October 24th.
Okay, so still another month or so. Okay.
Yeah, a little bit less than a month. It's creeping up.
And do you know about the charges? I heard he might be up to 5 years in prison still if he gets charged with these charges.
I believe that it is 5 years, but as far as I know, we're trying not to focus on the worst case scenario right now. We're trying to, you know, and you know how the system works. Like, there are plea deals, there are, you know, shortening of sentences, there's time served. So as far as knowing the exact time he could be facing, it's so hard to tell. And it's hard to know how the judge is going to react, because I think the judge he has now is better than that initial one that called him dangerous. Yeah. But she still denied him bail. So it's really hard to tell. But I mean, the way that he's been treated and the denial of justice and due process he's been given, I think is evidence enough, you know, including the raid, the way that the raid was conducted. I personally think that's enough to exonerate him, but clearly I doubt that's going to happen. But I think there is leeway and there is reason for even that judge to care about how he's been treated and to see that this is like a targeted campaign against him. It's not just this guy broke a law. It's a lot more than that.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And you were in the house when it got raided. That must have been quite an experience for you.
Oh, I was in the shower, like, of all the times. And it's funny because I just come home from yoga. So I was just like, and, you know, I found a yoga studio in Herndon. I was all about, like, keeping my zen. So I come home from yoga, and I think they waited for me to pull into the driveway because I was driving his car. So not 10 minutes in, and they had busted open the door. It was quite surreal.
Yeah, unbelievable. All right, let's talk about some more positive stuff. And by the way, we'll put a lot of links, however we can, to try to help out Adam. I've actually been doing our own little sort of, again, as heartless anarchists, I've been raising funds down here in Acapulco where they had a pretty bad flood over the last few weeks. And just today alone, we received about $3,000 from anarchists around the world. And
that's amazing.
Yeah, so there's a lot of anarchists out there who are very giving, obviously, and actually that's actually almost all anarchists are quite giving, and that's why we're anarchists, because we care about people. We're not trying to make things worse for people, we're trying to make things better. And so, yeah, very interesting. So we'll have all those links, and I'll try to help out Adam however I can, and this is one way that I can definitely help him is get the word out. So yeah, let's talk about you. So you're writing a book right now. I know you. It was hard for you to write over the last month or so with all the drama, and I totally understand that. I was just mentioning to you before that I'm working on a book as well called Escape from America, very aptly titled for what we're talking about here. And I couldn't write anything for the whole last week because my wife was missing. We knew where she was, but we couldn't contact her because she was trapped in a city that had no communication or anything, and there was just no way I was writing. So
yeah, it's impossible. And it's also just being a writer, which I've learned. I decided I was going to write a book. I'd never written a book. I'd written long papers for school in college, but I didn't realize how much of a task it was. So I was like, I'd write a draft and be like, I'm done, it's over. And then I'd realize it wasn't. So I was sort of at that point, but I actually did finish. I worked with a professional editor just to really clean it up and make it presentable. And so I'm done with that. But I just think given the huge experience I had this summer, I'm being OCD and I want to do a couple more touch-ups. But it is done. But I just took some time to shift gears and get my YouTube channel started and really start applying what's in the book to a more interactive, online platform. Because the sad truth is not a lot of people read books these days. And I have to be able to link myself and my personality and what I'm trying to say to an audience outside of just printing a book, which is exciting. I'm actually really enjoying it because from going, writing like 15 to 20 page chapters into a 210 page book, it's so nice to make a 2-minute video, and not have to sit and plan everything and just be able to say what I want to say and be done and not have, it's great. I'm really enjoying it, but I am eager to start writing again. So
yeah, I totally understand. I write a lot of blogs, and even those are not easy. People don't realize writing is not easy. It's almost like if you're a musician writing a new song every day. That's because I write almost every day for our blog or our newsletter, or I do videos. But videos are a little bit easier to me. Although it's a different thing too. You also have to be in a different mindset for the videos than you are when you're writing. Writing's more solitary, and you kind of need your space. Video is a little bit more interactive, obviously, because you're talking to somebody. But tell us a bit about what you write about in the book and what you're doing on your YouTube videos.
Sure. Well, the book was actually inspired because I was interning in a Hollywood film studio right when I finished college because I knew I wanted to be a writer, but I didn't know what kind. I don't know if you watch Mad Men. If you watch Breaking Bad, it's also on AMC, but I was a huge fan of Mad Men, and I learned a lot of writing techniques from it just from watching it over and over. So I decided I wanted to be a screenwriter, so I got this internship it was at Lionsgate Films. It's a pretty big film studio. And I stayed there for a while, and I was trying to get a job there, but I just sort of what I did mostly was reading scripts, and I was reading just these like cookie cutter scripts about either CIA agents or romantic comedies. And it was just like, I started seeing just like, it was a studio system. It wasn't the independent system. It wasn't people making stuff on YouTube. It was just corporate Hollywood. And as I was doing that, I would finish a script and then I would read the news. And it was right around the time when the Egyptian revolution was starting in 2011. And I just started it was like sitting in this studio, hearing these people on the phone with agents and watching actors and actresses come in and then reading the news. And I was like looking at what was going on around me and then looking at the computer screen and going like, wait, something's wrong here. There are other things going on. And I ended up not staying in Hollywood. I ended up getting a different writing job. But that experience of being surrounded by that culture, the Hollywood culture, really removed me from it. And it was also my own personal struggle because I was really into those things growing up. I was very superficial, very materialistic, very, the real world didn't matter. I was, I think, 13 when September 11th happened, and all I cared about was getting a new dress. It was like, I can't be bothered with the World Trade Center. I need to go shopping. And I was like that up until about that point in my life where I decided that I wanted to change. And the book really was an exercise for me to get all of those values out of me and to take a rational approach and look at all the things I had been consuming my whole life and question what their intention was and how I had responded to it and why. And I wanted to explain my experience for other girls, especially because I grew up in LA. I'm like a Valley girl. The stereotype, that's me. And then I moved to West LA. So I have a very direct experience with pop culture. And I hope that I can help relate that to girls who experience a lot of what I have, which is insecurity and just obsession with celebrity and things that really detract from having like a society of substance, I want to say.
Yeah, that's great. I lived in Hollywood essentially for a year in around 2003. And it was like the worst year of my life. Like I was just always surrounded by all these Hollywood people, and it's a whole other world, like you were mentioning. I actually didn't know most of them because I don't really watch TV, and I rarely watch movies because I have a hard time dealing with the president or the cops always being the good guys. And so my friend actually showed up, and we were at a party at a band called Puddle of Mud. They used to be quite popular, and they were really popular back then. So they had this mansion. Yeah. And my friend came in. He goes, "You know who that is over there, don't you?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Paris Hilton." And back then she wasn't super famous like she is now.
Yeah, she was just coming up.
Yeah. And but he said, "No, she's like heir to the Hilton fortune and all that." And I said, "Oh, she's like the most boring person I've ever met in my life, and very just not interesting person." Actually, almost everyone I met around that time was just they're just so, I don't know. So it's a different world. So I totally understand what you're talking about, being around that, and then also seeing the real world and trying to compute how they both exist at the same time.
Exactly. And I want to be fair to LA. There are some great things here. Like there's a lot of healthy eating. There's a lot of buying organic and awareness about those things. There's a lot of great nature, and there are some good people here if you can find them. But if you're just going to the general Hollywood areas, you're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah, of course, every place is like that. And when I say I don't like a place, it doesn't mean I hate every single person in that place, and I hate every single thing about the place. But the thing that I didn't like was that culture and the nightlife scene in Hollywood. I couldn't believe how bad it was. Everyone has this image of it being so awesome, and it's just terrible. And just everyone's zombies, and everyone's just no one has any soul in Hollywood. And have those Hollywood sort of clubs, but of course you can find certain places in certain neighborhoods that are decent.
Yeah.
Cool. So you're trying to help out women and girls, and trying to show them that they can do things, have more confidence. I like that because I see that a lot of that with quite a few women and girls, especially. Something about our society, it seems. I think, I even do this with my own daughter. I treat her so much different than my son. With my son, I'm always like helping him learn stuff and building things with him and stuff. And then my daughter walks in, and I'm like, "Oh, you look so pretty." And,
I know.
And I think that's sort of I think that's part of it. I think the way that we sort of treat them, they don't really ever think that they can do things or have much confidence. And so I'm sure you have a lot of thoughts on that.
Yeah, and it's actually, I feel like in this modern era, like the post-feminist era, it's a little bit more complicated too, because as much as you can tell your daughter that she's pretty, I'm sure you also tell her that she's capable and she can do whatever she wants, and that's how I was raised too. So it's interesting to see that even though my mother was telling me, like, intelligence is the most important thing you can have. Like, I don't care if you're pretty, but intelligence is way more important. Don't care about other things. Even in spite of my mom's influence, just to see how sucked into television I got and how sucked into all of that. And, it is a family issue because my parents were divorced. So my mom was working and I didn't see my dad much. So literally I had a very close connection to my TV and my magazine. And it was a lot stronger than I think it would have been had my parents probably gotten along better and stayed together. And I had like a better influence from that. I don't want to blame it on them. Like I was drawn to those things. It wasn't them that made me enjoy them or want them. But ultimately, I think that the main message I want to portray with that is about individuality. It's a very libertarian perspective, which is that when you're raised from that young of an age to be so invested in these, personalities that are really sold to girls, like you can be the cute one or the funky one or the sexy one, or, it's so crazy. And
Sporty
you lose
spice.
perspective. Exactly. And you lose perspective. And I think especially in this day and age, you never even get a chance to be yourself, because from the time you're like 3 or 4 years old, you're constantly trying to be something else that, in my experience, I had no idea who I was. I believed myself to be all the things that I wanted to be until I realized that everything I wanted was a waste of my time and had no substance at all. So I feel a lot better for it. And it's not to say that fashion and beauty are worthless. I appreciate them. Like, humans are drawn to aesthetic beauty. It's a part of human nature. I just think the obsession on it, especially when it's not even real and it's just plastic and airbrushing, is probably not, you know, the best influence on girls.
Yeah, I agree. Very interesting. Why don't you let people know where they can find your YouTube channel?
Sure. My channel is just my name. It's Carey Wedler, and I'll spell Carey because it's a boy's name. It's C-A-R-E-Y, and there's no spaces. Last name is Wedler, W-E-D-L-E-R. Pretty basic, and you can find all my stuff there. And I'm trying to really link the pop culture stuff with politics because, I mean, I wish I didn't have to be talking about girls and celebrities and Kim Kardashian, but that's what the book's about, and I think it is important, and someone needs to say it, especially someone that's used to be super into it. I'm not like a psychologist or a mother. I'm literally just a girl that grew up on Britney Spears and found out it was crazy. But I also really want to comment on how politics ties into that and how the investment in this commercial culture really detracts from being aware and having a real perspective on what's going on in the political culture.
That's very interesting. Let me ask you another question that you just brought up. What do you think about materialism? I have different ideas on it. I'm not really 100%. I do understand when some people say, oh, this world's materialistic and that's bad. I understand sort of what they're saying, especially when you talk about people getting really into celebrity culture and pop and all sorts of stuff like that. But at the same time, I'm a capitalist, and I think it's great that we have whatever we want. I think that's fabulous. And
I agree.
Yeah. So is that your general thoughts on it as well?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would totally agree with you. And like I said, I think it's just about a balance. I think that in a society where the core of it is materialism and there is no compassion and there is no, you know, consideration for other people that don't have the privilege of materialism, I think that's an issue. But if we're just enjoying technology and enjoying the benefits it brings to us, I don't see an issue with that. I just think it's a matter of, you know, that obsession with it. And it is an obsessive focus. So it's the obsession that I want to get over. So that's what I'm working toward.
That's a great message. And I think balance is a very important part of life. And I think you can take anything to extreme, even anarchism, and go too far in some ways. Of course, when I'm talking about anarchism, I just mean peace and voluntary transactions. And there's no way you can be very extreme at that. But you can almost, there's many people who just spend all day reading up on anarchism and they don't really do too much. So that would be a little bit of what I'm talking about when I say extreme on that behalf. That's great. Well, very interesting. And we'll have links to all your things below. We'll have your YouTube channel and how to help Adam Kokesh and your updates on him this week. We'll have all that below. And so thank you very much, Carey.
Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed it. It was great talking to you.
Oh, me too. So that's it for Anarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet. Peace, love, and anarchy.